Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Wednesday, February 5th, 2025 meeting of the Lake Havasu City Planning and Zoning Commission. Would you please rise and join me for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Susanna Ballard. Commissioner Joan DeZuro.
Here.
Commissioner Paul Lair.
Here.
Vice Chair Tiffany Wilson.
Here.
Commissioner Lonnie Stevenson.
Here.
Chair Jim Harris.
Here.
Commissioner Gabrielle Medley.
Here.
Commissioner Mary Costa. Commissioner J.P. Thornton. Commissioner Phil Annette.
Okay, we have one Annette at the dais. Would Ms. Costa please come join us? And while that's taking place, correspondence and announcements, Mr. Gilbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last week, the City Council approved the contract with the consultant that's going to be working on our general plan with staff and with the various citizen groups and steering committee and the Planning Commission, of course, and council. That was last week, and then staff kickoff for the general plan process is next week, followed by City Council kickoff in April, and Planning Commission kickoff will be in May. These are all tentative dates. So good news.
Okay, is that it? Okay, thank you, Mr. Gilbert. All right, minutes of the last meeting, and am I correct in saying that we have two sets of minutes to approve? Is that correct?
No, we approved the December ones at the last meeting, so just the January.
Oh, you just needed a signature. Okay. Okay, minutes of the last meeting. Are there any corrections, deletions, insertions by any of the commissioners? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Jim, I make a motion to approve the minutes from January 15th, 2025 meeting.
Do we have a second? Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Wilson, a second by Mr. Thornton to approve the minutes of the last meeting. Or is there any discussion? Hearing none, let's call for the question.
The motion passes 7-0.
Okay, let me start by saying that this is a public hearing and there is a structured order to this proceeding. The city staff will present each item. There will be time for the commission to ask questions of the staff, and then the applicant will have the opportunity to present their case to the commission. That being done, we will then open the proceeding to the public for their questions and input. I would ask that anyone of the public that wishes to speak limit their trips to the podium and microphone to one only, keep all comments to less than 3 minutes, and to stay on point and not discuss subject matter that is not pertinent to the decision being considered here today. After public testimony is taken, I will then close the public hearing and bring the motion back to the table for city staff's exceptions and conditions of approval, discussion amongst the commission, and eventually a motion to approve or disapprove. And I thank you for your cooperation. The first item on today's agenda is ID 254639, a request for a minor general plan amendment revising the future land use map designation for 60 Retail Center Boulevard, parcel B1 of parcel plat and of Retail Center 2, approximately 2.0 acres, from medium density residential to commercial mixed use. Mr. Gilbert, your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. Some housekeeping here at first. These three projects that we're going to hear today are all related. They're all neighboring properties. The representative for all thryou is present, and the owner is attending, we understand, remotely. So if you have any questions for them.
Okay.
We'll start with the first project, which is the general plan amendment for a 2-acre parcel on 60 Retail Center Boulevard. The surrounding development is commercial to the south and east with vacant land to the north and the west. The Havasu Mall is located just north of this project, and you can just kind of see it at the top of the map right here. The general plan map, the subject property was changed to medium density residential from commercial mixed use in 2022 to accommodate a manufactured home park that was never constructed. The applicant's request is for a minor general plan amendment to return this 2-acre parcel to the commercial mixed use land use category to facilitate a commercial gym development with outdoor amenities and landscape parking area. The following agenda item is a rezone request for this same property. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have on this one relating to the general plan amendment.
Okay, are there any questions of staff by commissioners? Hearing none, I'll open it to the public. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on this item? Anybody whatsoever? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing portion and bring it back to the table for staff's exceptions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The requested general plan amendment is consistent with surrounding land use designations.
Okay. All right, we are now at the table for discussion and or a motion by commissioners. Anybody? No discussion? I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Lair.
I'll make a motion that we approve ID 254639, a request for a minor general plan amendment. Approval to the City Council of Land Use Action number 244639, a minor general plan amendment revising the future land use map designation for parcel B1 over the parcel plat of Retail Center 2 from medium density residential to commercial mixed use.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Lear, a second by Ms. Wilson. Any further discussion on the issue? Hearing none, let's call for the question.
The motion passes 7-0.
Okay, the next item on today's agenda is a request for approval of a planned development rezone and general development plan for 60 Retail Center Boulevard, parcel B1, parcel plat of Retail Center 2, approximately 2.0 acres from manufactured home district to general plan developed district to permit construction of a 2-story gymnasium with an exterior pool and parking area with requested exceptions for height, materials, and setbacks. Mr. Gilbert, your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, to the area map, it's the same property from the previous hearing. The subject property is a 2-acre parcel located at 60 Retail Center Boulevard. Surrounding development is commercial to the south and east with vacant land to the north and west. On the zoning map, the subject property is currently zoned Manufactured Home Park, RMH. The applicant is requesting mixed-use general plan development, that's MU-GPD zoning, to accommodate the gym development on this parcel, and will be requesting the same zoning for the adjacent residential component located on a separate parcel. This zone is a mixed-use zone that complements the general commercial C2 zoning surrounding the parcel and is in general conformance with the types of uses that will be permitted in the C2 zone. The general development plan for the proposed project, the general development plan shows a 14,800 square foot gymnasium building with outdoor pool and parking areas serving the development. 2 access points are anticipated at the north end from a cross-access easement off of Retail Center Boulevard, and at the south end through a public utility and access easement also off of Retail Center Boulevard. The project will meet all building and development standards, including landscaping and parking, except those standards as amended by this application. The applicant has requested 3 exceptions from the mixed-use general, that's the MUG district standards, and development standards required by the Lake Havasu City Development Code, and are as follows. Number 1, maximum building height shall not exceed 35 feet in height above the approved maximum grade. Number 2, the 30% alternate material requirement of City Code Section 140407C2 is not applicable to the east building facade facing Retail Center Boulevard. And number 3, City Code Section 140204B4B is not applicable to this development. Regarding building facades, there's 2 slides involved here, showing as it would appear from all 4 directions. So this first slide is the north and the south sides, which are going to have a lot of glass, different articulations, angles, colors. And the second slide shows it obliquely at the top, and then you have the west is the middle, and the east elevation is on the south end, but the east elevation does not contain any alternate materials per our code, and therefore does not meet the Retail Center Boulevard facing facade requirements submitted, and that was the reason for the exception number 2 above in the previous slide. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have to present on this. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Any questions by staff? Ms. Zero.
Just trying to understand the material thing again. Why are they not able to use the options that we have? An exception to it?
Last year, the City Council held a work session on what to do about allowing metal on commercial buildings. And they discussed it, sent it back to staff. We brought it back to Planning Commission and then to the council in May for final approval. And they approved a minimum 30% alternate materials, which is stucco, stone, and brick, for facades that face public right-of-ways. And this particular facade, while they've done a lot of treatment to the building, this particular facade does not meet that requirement because it faces Retail Center Boulevard and does not have the required alternate stucco, stone, or brick. And that's why they're requesting the exception.
Thank you.
Any other questions of staff? Is the applicant present? Would you like to make a presentation? Okay. Please come forward and state your name for the record.
Bob Sampson with Selberg Associates Architecture and Planning. Good morning, everyone, Mr. Chairperson and Commissioners. It's my great pleasure to be here as always. Thank you for coming in and doing your public duty today. We appreciate it. We've got a very exciting project here. It's something that has been the culmination of a lot of hours of blood, sweat, and some tears. It's also been the culmination of a lot of great minds coming together, myself being probably the least great of all of them. The owner has a passion and a passion for Lake Havasu, as you've seen with his Paradigm development. This is just another extension of their brand that they're proposing. Today we're here to talk about this gymnasium and getting a rezone for this, to allow this gym to take place. We've put together a very quick slideshow. We'll touch on all the things that Mr. Gilbert has said, and thank you, Mr. Gilbert, for your great presentation. We appreciate it. All right, so moving forward. You've already seen the site plan as part of Mr. Gilbert's presentation, but what we're proposing here is a gym. One editorial note, the building is actually 32,000 square feet. It's multiple stories. To accomplish this, we've actually incorporated a parking garage. It'll be made of precast concrete or post-tension concrete. It's being designed right now. We have all of the parking required on site. One thing you'll also notice is there's a pool here. This pool is a Dubai-inspired pool. It will be more like a resort pool. This is an energy in this gym is going to be unique to anything you've seen here in Lake Havasu. There's an aggressive marketing plan that the owners endeavored into, where the homeowners, should that get approved on the next item we're going to listen to, will all be given memberships to the gym. They're looking in Kingman. They're looking at our visitors come in from Southern California. They're working with a brand that's already established well in California that has spinning DJs and cars hanging from the ceiling. This is a very unique entity, but it's a very expensive one too. The owner's really looking to invest a lot of money into Lake Havasu. So I've already touched on some of them, but here's the advantages. The development's going to create a unique and needed service, which will bring more visitors to the north side of town on a daily basis. We're proposing to change the zoning for the street frontage from residential to commercial use, which will generate more tax revenue and create employment on that 2-acre parcel. Again, we're 32,000 square feet. It's a high-energy gymnasium. And what the owner's really passionate about is he's got a son who's a budding MLB star, as I'm sure is what his hope is. They're looking to gear this towards youth training and bringing more youth into the gym for a place where they can really excel in sports. There'll be an element of this that's a training facility. It's also going to be more geared towards the workout enthusiasts. I already talked about the marketing plan to expand their memberships. They're trying to take advantage of getting more people to come to this area, more like a resort. Take advantage of the Paradigm brand and any of the storage facilities that are being created by Paradigm under their moniker. The idea is to have them offer gym memberships as well as part of their HOA dues. So we bring more people into the city and this area, which will only help bring the mall more flourishment. And there's many developments, as you guys have already heard, some coming from our office, that are bringing more restaurants to the north side of town, bringing more services to the north side of town. So we really see this as a great fit for this property. And we already talked about the Dubai-inspired pool, and you see some pictures on the side of the slides. All right, plan development. Mr. Gilbert already spoke about these, but let me just give you a quick overview of our ideas. This is why we're presenting to you today. The maximum building height at 35 feet. Right now, the design is somewhere around 32 feet, 33 feet. It just made sense to ask for it in case something comes up, like an elevator doghouse or something that we need to put into the design of the plan. We just didn't want to stunt the owner as we talked about it. I believe this is also a recommendation from staff that we if you think you're close, then ask for it so that way you guys are prepared for it. The exception regarding the ultimate materials, this is one I expect the most pushback from today. What the owner's looking for is a very aggressive, very masculine gym. They're looking for good design. One thing I didn't mention at the beginning of this, you've seen on our cover sheet, this is a collaboration between Paradigm, obviously, as the owner, but Selberg Associates, and they also have engaged a design architect named Space Planners. They're out of Texas, and they actually specialize in the next part of this project that we're going to talk about, which is the residential. We have an exciting concept that we'll discuss here in a second, but they brought them in to do the construction documents for this project, and we're working with a structural engineer, HOK out of Houston, who only has buildings such as like Cowboy Stadium on their resume. So we're only bringing in a lot of good thinkers and very smart, intelligent designers and engineers, architects to bring this thing to fruition. As far as the materials go, though, the idea was to limit the amount of materials, make a statement, use the dark colors, use striations on the panels themselves. And I'll go to the next slide and show you what we're talking about. And first off, for the height exception, here's a cross section that we put together just briefly. What it shows is the street level. We're right now, because of the 2.5 story that we're working with, we're 14 feet below grade from the parking lot. That's why we needed the parking garage. And then we've got the barn caves that you'll see this very slide again in the next presentation, where it's got, shows, even though the barn caves are going to be a little higher, there's nowhere near what the height limit would allow them to be. So that's what this one is. Finishes wise, you've seen this slide already. The only thing I'll draw your attention to on this is in the lower right corner. These are the finishes that we're proposing. The one material, it's an insulated steel panel system. It's from a Kingspan company. They have a system that will allow us to attach vertical metal siding on the building. They're looking at using a charcoal gray type system. And the striations in the panel will actually continue up to the roof and go over. So that's the look they were looking for, is one continuous design that would go up and then over. In order to be respectful of the city's latest amendment, we've incorporated on some of the side walls accents of fiber cement that'll have the same finish as wood. And we'll bring some interest on that street from Retail Center. The idea that we're looking for, again, is just to make this a very, very simple, very, monolithic type building. They really want to have something that makes a presence. When you walk into this building, you'll see some of the pictures scattered throughout this presentation. The idea is to be able to see from the front doors to the resort style pool, and you just get the whole experience as you walk in. Again, so this is, here you'll see there's some signage on the lower elevation that shows the fiber cement that looks like wood. It's got the same finish, just it's got the longevity. And we could always add a little bit more of it, but the idea was to try and make more of a statement with the panels themselves. The only other exception we asked for was the 20 feet and just allowing us to achieve the parking that we need and keep the gym off of a retail center. The mixed use general does require us to be within 20 feet of the deal. There is some easements you'll see that are dashed in on the right-hand side of that plan. One of them is a slope easement and one of them is a utility easement. So getting within 20 feet would actually be difficult because the utilities hold the rights to those properties or that part of the property. Right. Thank you very much. That's the first part of this presentation. We'll talk again here soon.
Any questions of the applicant by commissioners? None at all? Thank you, Mr. Sampson. All right, this is a public hearing. If there is anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on this item, please come forward and state your name for the record.
Good morning, all. My name is Emiliano Torres. I'm a resident, and it wasn't so long ago I was at a city council meeting, and I recalled they were very adamant about the natural materials. I see no natural materials here, and if you'll notice, they very quickly reference no natural materials on the side that's going to be facing the road. So natural materials, city council really was adamant that they want to see natural materials, and I see none here. Second, the setback. I don't see any outstanding reason why we have to issue a setback exception. It's 2 acres. They have architects. They have engineers. They can think it out and put it on their lot without the exceptions. You expect us as homeowners to meet these rules. I would expect you to have developers and others meet those same rules. Thank you very much.
Any questions of the speaker? None? Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else in the audience that wishes to speak on this item? Anybody at all? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing portion and bring it back to the table for staff's exceptions and conditions.
Just a moment, we're getting our PowerPoint back. Where'd it go?
Go to the PowerPoint.
Okay, apologies on that. Switching between the different presentations kind of moved stuff around a little bit. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The requested mixed-use general plan development MUGPD rezone is a mixed-use district containing many uses consistent with general commercial C2 district permitted uses. The requested exceptions are consistent with design strategies in the area. However, the submitted exterior materials exception request does not meet the intent of the code, as this section was recently amended to approve the appearance of commercial buildings facing public streets. Mr. Chairman, if I may add, the gentleman that spoke earlier when he was referring to setbacks, the exception they're requesting from setbacks is a maximum setback in this case. That requires the building to intentionally be set right up on the street, and they're asking for them to be allowed to push it back to allow for parking. So they're asking for more setback rather than less in this case.
Okay.
And that completes my statement.
All right, we are at the table for discussion. Any questions by commissioners of staff, the applicant, anything? Ms. Medley.
I'm just curious about how the membership is. Is this open to the public? Is it strictly members from the multi-housing
This will definitely be open to the public.
Say again, please.
This will definitely be open to the public.
Okay. Anybody else? Mr. Lair?
Can you describe the roof as far as the east? It's the east elevation, isn't it, that faces Retail Center Drive? Does your roof line kind of stagger? Does it stagger a little bit so you'd see sort of the underside of the?
So there, right now on the south side of the property over the pool, there's this cantilever that this is why HOK is going to earn their money on this design. We have about a 75-foot cantilever that's incorporated for design and for shade structure. The roof line itself is truly just one gable all the way through, except there is that extension that you see. And if we can go back one slide, or I guess it's maybe forward one slide, Chris. There. That's the top picture on the upper left is the cantilever part. That's why you're seeing kind of the skewed roof line. It's just, it's not complete across the other side.
So actually, if you're on Retail Center Drive looking at the building, you'd see.
Just a single slope.
So you wouldn't see the underside of the.
Correct.
You would see the underside, or you wouldn't?
You would not.
You wouldn't see it. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Any other questions? Ms. Zero?
Chris, I just wondered on the materials that they're asking for again. Sorry. That they did make a point of wanting some natural, which is not there. Are you guys comfortable as a staff that this is going to meet requirements of what we were looking for with the new statutes that we came up with on that?
Well, that's why we brought it to the Planning Commission. It's one of the exceptions they're requesting, and Planning Commission will need to decide believe that exception is appropriate or not. Our position is that it doesn't meet the code the way it's written.
Could you go forward one more slide so you can see the side elevations? Now, there's not much there. Is that just metal siding?
So the area that's in gray is the metal siding. It's intended to be similar to a PVD panel, which is like an equal corrugation panel that would be consistent with the roof. And then on the what you see in brown is essentially a wood look, natural looking fiber cement board panel.
And that's the side that faces Retail Center.
That is the side facing Retail Center.
I might suggest that you dress that up just a little bit.
We're at 20% right now. It's not really going to take much to get to 30.
Not going to take much to get to the 30?
Yeah, the only thing that as my understanding and from talking with Mr. Gilbert is the side facing the street. We're not talking about the roof. We're just talking about that 14-foot element that's on the base of that plan that's in the darker gray color. To add another bay of wood siding would accomplish what the city's looking for.
I would think that that's what the public and the questions are about, is just that, for a better word, blank side facing Retail Boulevard.
Yeah, we're here to satisfy the city. We want to be good partners. So if that's what you guys see fit, so we're here to satisfy the city. So if you want us to be, add that, we're happy to be good partners with you guys.
That would be my suggestion.
So that would be the exception they're asking for on the one siding. We would just leave that one off then and let them come back with something that would fit that.
That would be up to the maker of the motion.
Right. Okay. Because that's what I'm thinking at this point, just to get something more on that side. That's the only thing that I think's an issue for me.
Any other questions of
Mr.
Thornton?
Sorry.
Is the approval going to be based with an exception, or do we need to the motion? Okay.
May I ask a question? I apologize.
Yes, sir.
Is it possible to add in there in your approval or hopefully your motion that exception has to meet the current city code so we can move on to the actual building submittal?
That would be fine by me. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, we are at the table for a motion, just further discussion or a motion. Anybody?
Jim?
Ms. Wilson.
Okay, I move to recommend approval to the City Council of Land Use Action 244643 regarding a plan development rezone and general development plan for 60 Retail Center Boulevard, parcel B1 of parcel plat of Retail Center 2 from manufactured home district to mixed use general plan development with the exceptions maximum building height shall not exceed 35 feet in height above approved maximum grade. Not sure if this next one is, with the exterior materials to meet city's code of the 30% and the setbacks
As requested.
as requested.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Wilson and a second by Ms. Zero to approve ID 254643, and I'm not going to read them, with exceptions.
Mr. Chairman, I don't like to step into this point, but can I add that during the presentation, the applicant indicated that 35 feet they're asking for is based off the 668-foot mark in the center of Retail Center Boulevard because the building sets down.
That was made pretty clear, so we should be good, correct? Yeah, that should be good. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chair, can I get, what's your understanding of the second condition that you said? What is your intent?
My intent was
sure it's
that,
clear.
it meets city requirement of the 30%.
So it's not, so you're actually not putting a condition, correct?
Correct.
So I would suggest instead of placing it as these are conditions of approval. And so by placing a condition on, you're granting an exception. So if we're not going to grant an exception, I would suggest that you allow that motion to fail and then create a new motion with just the exceptions and not include, just so it doesn't cause confusion. Just because when you put it in there, it makes it sound like you're making some exception, and I don't think that's your intent. Okay.
So proper procedure would be to go ahead and vote on this, let it fail, and come back for a second motion.
Yeah, so there's two ways that you can do it. You can amend that first motion and then have it reseconded. Or if you want to just kind of wipe the slate clean and so it's absolutely clear, you can go ahead and vote on it, let it fail, and then make a new motion. So either way is acceptable. It's just how you prefer to proceed.
I would suggest we go with the amendment. Would the maker of the motion and the seconder of the motion go for the amendment?
Jim, I'd like to make an amendment to my motion that the request for approval for the plan development rezone and general development plan for 60 Retail Center Boulevard, parcel B1, parcel plat of Retail Center 2, approximately 2 acres from manufactured home district to mixed use general plan development, to permit a construction of 2-story gymnasium with an exterior pool and parking areas with requested exceptions for height and setbacks.
I second.
Okay, we have an amendment to the motion made by Ms. Wilson and seconded by Ms. Zero. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's go ahead and call for the question. Vote on the issue. My screen's locked up. Oh, there it goes. Thank you.
The amended motion passes 7-0.
Okay. All right, the next item on today's agenda is ID 254644. This is a request for approval of a plan development, rezone, and general development plan for 40 Retail Center Boulevard, parcel B2 of parcel plat of Retail Center 2, approximately 15.92 acres from manufactured home district, RMH2, mixed use general plan development district, MU/G/PD. To permit construction of 97 detached single-family dwelling units with outdoor recreation improvements. Mr. Gilbert, your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as you stated just a moment ago, the property is 40 Retail Center. And so it's to the west, slightly to the north of the gym that was just discussed. Property is a 15.92 acre parcel. Surrounding development is commercial to the south and east with vacant land to the north and state-owned land to the west that is also vacant. And it's also our city boundary on the west end of the edge of the property. The Havasu Mall is just north of this property. The previously heard cases are located on the east side of this parcel at a higher elevation. The zoning map, the subject property is currently zoned for manufactured home park, RMH. The applicant is requesting mixed-use general plan development, that's MUGPD zoning, to accommodate a 97-unit single-family detached development with outdoor recreation facilities on this parcel. This is the same zone requested for the adjacent gymnasium component on a separate parcel to the east. This is a mixed-use zone that complements the general commercial C2 zoning surrounding the parcel well and shares many uses that would be permitted in the C2 zone, but also adds a mixed-use component to utilize the already existing medium-density residential land use category underlying the subject property that is consistent with the general plan. The general development plan shows a 97-unit barn cave style development that will have all privately owned lots with an HOA to maintain the development amenities, including detention basin, landscaping, driveways, back alleys in some blocks, and internal private streets. The project will meet all building and development standards, except the applicant has requested a single exception from the Lake Havasu City Development Code to permit the addition of the use category of quote unquote single family detached to the use table for this project. This development is at a lower elevation than the gymnasium development heard earlier and will not have good visibility due to topography from Retail Center Boulevard. The gym development will also act as a screen. Building facades, this slide, and the applicant had a better one up earlier, far better than this one, but this slide shows the barn cave style building facade as is intended to look for this project. The building will incorporate a variety of elevation changes, materials, colors to add interest to the project, and also, as you can see on this example, decks overlooking the common areas. Mr. Chairman, that completes my report. Any questions from you or the commission?
Any questions of staff by commissioners? Ms. Zero.
Sorry, I guess I'm full of questions today. When was the traffic study done? What month when they did the traffic study for this one? I saw that they did the peak hours, which was great, but they didn't say what month they did the actual study.
I'll leave that to the applicant. They were the ones that put that together, provided it to us.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of staff by commissioners? Okay, is the applicant present? Please come forward, state your name again for the record.
Hi, again, Rob Sampson with Selberg Associates. Thank you again for letting me be here. I appreciate it. We have an exciting project again to go over with you today. The reason we're doing mixed-use general for this particular project was it was done in conjunction with the gym because they're going to work and be the same ownership. It was recommended to us when we started this project that we split these out just because the gym may have had a more streamlined path, not knowing what the full density was going to be. This project has evolved over the last 8 months to be a much lower density than was originally started at. Just buying time until my presentation comes up. No, I don't think so.
Is that not yours?
I think it is. I got it out of the file for you.
All right, thank you for your patience. So this project is designed as, again, another paradigm product. Place designers and Selberg Associates are collaborating on this one with Place being brought in to do. You guys are going to love this. I got some interesting stuff coming for you here today. We're not going to spend too much time because I know you all have jobs you have to go back to make money, but we'll just touch on it briefly. Mr. Gilbert already showed you the site plan that we're proposing, and we started with a higher density, about 135 units, so we're down to 97. Owners really feels very important, again, about his investment in Lake Havasu and building something that everybody can be proud of. This is really a lock and leave type development where it'll have an HOA that will handle maintenance for all of the individual lots. And you just come in, enjoy your time, and leave. Advantages. So this development is going to create a unique residential product, and then we have some examples of this in Havasu Heights, also in Donkey Acres. But on the scale of this type of development, I don't think we've seen anything similar. We're proposing 97 high-quality upscale barn dominiums. A question you may ask yourself is why barn caves or barn dominiums? So at Salberg Associates specifically, we've had a number of clients calling us looking for the biggest RV garage they can get and a 500 square foot residential add-on beside it. A lot of our clientele are from other parts of the country that like to come and enjoy our lake and move on. What this, in discussing this with Ryan from Paradigm, he said, look, I love the idea, but I don't want to just do storage. And what they found from their storage clientele is like, hey, we love your storage units. These are great. We just wish we had some kind of a residential component to it. Can we live in them? And of course, we always tell them, no, that's not what they were designed for. So he said, well, what if we take that, turn it on its ear, and instead of doing a RV garage and a residence beside it, let's see if we can increase the density and put the residential on top of it. So this has been designed with some, again, tireless hours over the last 8 months putting together a concept that we really felt strong about. And with the help of Stephen Beagle from Place Designers, this is actually a fabricated model. It'll be done as pre-engineered metal buildings, and they're going to fabricate them right here in Lake Havasu with local talent and local fabricators. This is a kind of ground zero for this project. It's going to be the test case where they'll get all the bugs worked out and then offer this for sale to qualified contractors to build anywhere USA and abroad. The only reason I'm pushing this so hard is because this really is exciting. Lake Havasu for years has asked for industry to come to town, and finally we have industry coming to town, and they're knocking and they're ready to go. And these guys are passionate. Again, there's no other word to describe what Paradigm is bringing to this city is passion. And this is just a complementary element of it. You can see on the right side of our slide here, it's the same image that Mr. Gilbert showed you earlier. Finished materials, that won't be a question or a concern on this project. We've got integrated stucco, wood paneling, a little tiny bit of metal. But this is designed more of a luxurious Malibu kind of intention. And this is, again, it's what it is. It's a barn cave. It's like a man cave on steroids, but with residential, but permitted for such. We wanted to make sure that this is something that the fire department is happy with. We've had countless meetings with the city, all departments, kind of going through how to get access to the property and what the easement should look like and how does Unisource want to serve power. So this has been thoroughly thought out, and it's something that we couldn't be more happy to have this coming before you guys today. Here's another snippet of what the inside will look like on the lower right. This is one of the ideas. This is still in flux, so you guys don't really care about the inside, but like we're all trying to market and make this thing come to fruition. So I'm letting anyone who's watching playing the home game see how exciting this is going to look. And then the Dubai style pool you'll see on the left side. Finishes we just talked about, a lot of glass, a lot of stucco, painted exposed steel structures. This again is being designed as a kit type home that can be fabricated locally and then shipped off anywhere. Cross section, again, you've already seen this from the last deal. We're significantly below the allowable height. And that's my presentation.
Any questions of the speaker?
Jim.
Ms. Wilson.
What is the proposed living square footage above the garage currently?
3,000 square feet for the 4-bedroom and 2,300 square feet for the 3-bedroom.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What's your average total height on one of these?
40 feet.
Say again?
40 feet.
40 feet. All right. Any other questions? Mr. Thornton.
Parking. How's parking going to work? I know they have big RV garages, and I know the type of vehicles and boats and everything that's going to be going inside, but where's everybody going to park, visitors and all that?
HOA is required to, have verbiage in there that they have to park for the owners. They have to park in their actual properties, like in the garages. Let me go back to the site plan. You'll see a unique layout here. I can draw your attention. So you'll see in the middle, for instance, there's two units back to back. Well, that's a residential garage that comes off of those driveways. So there'll be a 2-car garage for each of those areas that is accessible in the middle. And then we do have some parking scattered throughout, so hatched over a little bit, but you can see in the larger landscape areas on the right-hand side of the double units, we have parking there for guests and visitors.
So what you're saying is the association is going to require them to park within their own garage.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and honestly, the driveways are set up as 50 feet right now, so if you're dropping off groceries, it's unrealistic for me to tell you that no one will ever park in that driveway to unload, but it is mandated, and it'll be, there'll be security that'll watch over to make sure that they're following the rules.
I can see where there might be an issue, not our business here today, but if the garage is filled up with an RV and so forth, there's not enough room for a vehicle.
Sure. They're actually designed, the 4-bedroom, for instance, has a 2-car garage that's only 2-car height. And then there's an RV garage that's 60 feet deep beside it.
Right. Again, not our issue here.
Yeah.
But I can see where you guys might have an issue with that.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Zero.
Back to the traffic study. Do you know what month they conducted that one?
So right now the owner is doing a traffic study with Greenlight traffic engineers. What we did is we had one of the local civil engineers do one from the manual. It was not taken as a date specific. It was just taken as from the table. So it's tabular. So it'll be addressed again with Greenlight, and whatever recommendations they pose will become part of the project.
Okay. Might recommend you pick a high traffic month. Sometimes we get these reports and they do them in July. Very few of us are here in July. We need to
For sure.
see it when the snowbirds are here. The other thing I had is, who's your target audience for this? I'm looking at, there's no yards. You're literally hanging out on your balcony. Is this for people, seasonal people who come in, or just for people who come to do the lake and they want a vacation home? What's your target audience?
It's an ignorant comment for me to say anybody with money, but that's what we're looking for here. It's open to everybody. This is not the product. If you're a single mom with 3 kids, you're probably not going to be in this development. Understanding because of the park areas. The area on the lower part of the plan is actually an entertainment area. It's part of the retention pond, but it's going to be landscaped to be more of a public park and dog walking area. But for the most part, these are the target audiences, more of your Southern California visitors, your people with boats that are buying storage units. Maybe they're from Wyoming, maybe they're from wherever, but it's more of the second home type. It's not really the first home type.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions of the applicant?
What
Ms.
is
Medley.
what is your price point for these units?
Per square foot, they're looking at it being comparable to other residential developments on the north side of town.
You didn't answer the question.
And what would that be, though?
I'm smarter than that, Jim. Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Can you expound on that just a little bit? I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
So give me a little more specifics.
Essentially $300 to $400 a square foot for living.
Okay. And they're 3,000 square foot units.
Some of them are. Yeah, 2,300 and 3,000.
Okay.
Pretty optimistic.
This guy's a visionary. It's very impressive.
None of my business.
Yeah.
Any other questions of the applicant? All right. Thank you, Mr. Sampson.
Thank you.
All right. This is a public hearing, and I'll open it now to the public. Anybody who wishes to speak, please come to the microphone. State your name for the record.
Thank you. Emiliano Torres, resident. It's 100 units with a single garage. Maybe it's a deep garage, and it's for casual people coming in over the weekends. So they're going to have their boats, they're on their side-by-sides. And of course, they're all going to be parked in the garages, I guess, which we know is false. And they're not going to be able to park because on the property because they don't have driveways. And if they're coming as out-of-town guests, they're probably going to bring their friends and family. That's going to add a few more cars. And I guess you guys are ready to have those folks park on the street because that's what's going to happen. It's going to be full of cars. And the HOA can control who parks on the development, but they can't control who's on the street, and they can't control all the disagreements about who parks where. And this is what is being created. Thank you.
Any questions of the speaker? Thank you, Mr. Torres. Is there anybody else in the audience that wishes to speak on this item? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing portion, bring it back to the table for staff's conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The exception that I brought up earlier, that you're only asking for one on this, and the MUG district does allow 3 different types of higher density residential already. They're asking to add the single family detached as an additional residential allowance. The requested mixed use general plan development, MUG PD, with the requested exception is compatible with the surrounding area. Keep in mind that the property has been zoned for manufactured housing, and it's medium density residential per our general plan right now. So the density of the development fits in the 4 to 10 unit per acre range, about in the middle. So it's compatible with that.
All right, we are at the table for discussion and or a motion, commissioners. Anybody? Ms. Wilson.
So I'm glad you brought that up, Chris. I just want it to be like on the record prior to this project now coming. It was zoned and approved. The site plan that was on that was 140, if I remember correctly, somewhere in that number of mobile homes with RV garages attached. That was what was proposed to go on that. So for when we're talking about traffic and parking, I do live in an HOA. I have to park in my garage or I get cited. So I don't see it. I understand the concern with, visitors coming and parking and boating and all of those things. I do see how that can be a concern. With that being said, I do love the idea that the newness of this project, what it will bring to Lake Havasu. We all know that the growth of the town is moving in this direction. And so I like what they're doing here. I like the risk that they're taking. They're putting a lot of money invested in this town. So good luck.
Any other comments? Ms. Zero.
I too agree with Tiffany. I like the idea of the process. We hear so much about how negative people are about storage units, but they go before they've even finished building them. This is a way of doing both. People can bring their stuff, keep it out of sight, and yet still live here. And I think it will free up some of the housing that we have in town that these people might normally have been using by getting something there. So I like the idea. I think it's well laid out. And like the concept a lot.
Anybody else? Mr. Thornton.
I love this idea. I think it's amazing. I met Ryan. We have a lot of mutual friends, and I love the way he thinks. And I think this is great. But I do think, because this is going to be an amazing development, I do think that he needs to try to work on figuring out something for parking, because it's going to draw people no matter what. So, I mean, the way it's set up, it's not necessary, but I think it's going to be once he gets this development going and what he's doing. I mean, maybe there's other property close and maybe he can figure something out. I mean, he's brilliant. I know he's probably thought it all out, I'm sure, but I think that's definitely, the parking is going to be, it will want to be an issue. It's going to be crowded. It'll probably piss a lot of people off because the streets are going to get packed. They're going to get crowded. So especially in summertime and big boats, and you got 44-foot skaters in there and you got all this stuff in there that it's going to fill up those garages, no problem. That's why they're making them so big, not for additional parking. So I think he should consider, maybe he's already got something on his mind. I'm sure he does, but I know that's just going to want to be an issue or something just amazing. It's going to draw a lot of people, especially with the resort style gym and all that. So, I mean, it's going to be good. A lot of athletes, celebrities, ball players, and, so I think it's going to be, I love the development. I think it's awesome. So consider that parking though.
Anybody else? Okay, we are at the table for a motion. Anybody? Ms. Zero?
I move to recommend approval to the City Council of Land Use Action Number 244644 regarding the planned development, rezone, and general development plan for 40 Retail Center Boulevard, Parcel B2 of the parcel plat of Retail Center 2 from Manufactured Home District to Mixed Use General Plan Development District to permit construction of 97 detached single-family dwelling units with outdoor recreation improvements.
Do we have a second? Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Zero, a second by Mr. Thornton to approve ID 254644 with staff's recommendations, staff's conditions. Any other discussion on the motion? All right, let's call for the question and vote on it. Oops, I went the wrong way.
This motion passes 7-0.
Congratulations and good luck. All right. Now we go to the call to the public. This is the opportunity for anybody in the audience to come to the podium and speak to the commission about any item. Anybody whatsoever want to speak at call to the public? I'll close the call to the public and future meetings, Mr. Gilbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There is a case for the upcoming meeting on February 19th. So we will be here.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. We stand adjourned.